Alright guys, Kremp here again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, the title defense of OpTic Texas at this arena here in Allen starts in exactly the way that the Green Wall would have wanted, with a convincing victory against the Minnesota Rockets today. Things will most certainly get more challenging, but Skyz's debut with the team goes exactly how they might have wanted it to. From a statistical perspective, that is a question mark, but in terms of enabling the rest of the team, a sign of things to come potentially for the ceiling of this roster. Many other big stories of the day as well, with some key eliminations. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Again, great to meet so many of you guys at the venue. So if I haven't met you yet and you're here, I'll be about, you'll probably end up running into me at some point, and I think it's going to be even more busy on the next couple of days. I think in many respects, good that OpTic survived the Friday, because there will be plenty more OpTic fans in the venue over the next couple of days. Challenges, of course, has been going on as well, but we've got to get into the games, because the Los Angeles Thieves are a very big talking point of the day as well. They collapsed to Boston yesterday. Wasn't really a full collapse, but they lost a series that they were far from expected to lose. This I thought was pretty funny, nature revealing that when he, Thieves played Heretics, he sent them this message of himself pointing like a fake gun at his wife and said, hey, look, lose again and there will be serious consequences. They didn't reply to him, but they did reply today on the server. Although things got very interesting. I think this game one was always going to be entertaining between Miami and Thieves. It's interesting for Miami because, they came top 3 the last event. They bomb out here top 12. And look, they've started on losers on their own merit, right? They'll have probably expected that they were going to play Boston, but it is what it is. They may have been a better team than we got to appreciate from the fact that they played a team that is looking to make a serious losers bracket run. And, I said it on the pre-show this morning, I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And at the end of the day, you'd certainly, expect that to be a likely possibility. Real, by the way, had an absolutely incomprehensibly good map 1. He had 48 kills with something like 19 assists. Like, this guy had almost 70 eliminations on his screen when this game ended, which was pretty bonkers. And we saw Scrap and Ghosty both having pretty tough map 1s. And, Heretics taking this game on was a really big moment, actually, in the context of the tournament. I talked to Shane briefly, of course, one of the coaches of the team, after this series, and he was like, he expected it to be a bit of a nervy one, because you go from being pre-tournament favourites into, oh my god, are we going to get top 12? And that's a difficult thing to cope with, but Thieves coped with it pretty well in the end. They won the search. It went game 5 in the HyDra control, but they clutched up on the offense, and that was a big moment for them, because it's the type of thing that the great teams do. You go round 5, you're on offense, you haven't got the ticks. They attack the point on B very emphatically. They get the job done in the end. So a clinical round 5 of the control. And then they played a HyDra hardpoint, which was again a banger, that in the end Thieves just about managed to close out a win. So it was a really tight series, this one, and Thieves deserved the win. I think they earned it, but it was tight. Notably on the final map, HyDra started out, 0-8? I think he was then 1-10 shortly after that, but he ends up positive on the series, the only player to do so, because on the game 4 he really turned it around. So far from Thieves' best stuff here in the losers bracket, but sometimes that's what it's about at this tournament, just surviving. And the fact that they lost to Boston, okay, not the end of the world. If they can get through the losers bracket in the grand finals, there's no double best of 5 like we used to have. It's just a straight up series for the championship, as we full well know, with what happened back in Madrid as well. So Thieves survive. We'll discuss more on them in a second. A team that didn't survive, of course, was the Falcons. They were eliminated very quickly afterwards, and as Clay says, gutted for the boys, gave it a good go, simply not where we needed to be. Appreciate all the Vegas love and chance in the arena. I saw some of the Falcons Challenger guys as well over at that event as well, so wishing them the best this weekend. Just a tough moment, and I mean, yeah, Wixer with a 0.6. It's ugly, it's not a massive surprise, and Ravens take the series really without too much difficulty in the end. So, where do Falcons go from here? There are rumours before the event, especially getting rid of Looty, that maybe this was going to be where they decide, we're going to blow it up after this major. That seems like a realistic possibility, right? I mean, Slasher ends the series with a 1.6. Gwinn has a 1.6 as well. And apart, maybe the map 1 was close for a while, but it was classic Falcons after that. The series, though, that you've all been waiting for after all the drama with OpTic Texas over the last few weeks. What was going to happen when they made the call, whether Kenny was partially involved in making the decision, whatever. Skyz comes into the team. World champion, going to help the vibes of the roster. I mean, it was a sensible option, I think, given the circumstances. Is it an option which is going to last the test of time? As in, is Skyz still going to be on this roster this time next year? It's a question, and will continue to be a question, but today was a good sign, I think, that whatever Skyz has brought to that team so far, it's helping those players level up to some degree. So OpTic took the stage. It was buzzing in the venue, of course, at this point. Like, it's only a Friday. On the rest of the weekends, now that they've survived, especially if they get to Sunday, it's going to be pretty mega. But of course, only one of Thieves and OpTic can make it out of the losers bracket, even if OpTic can get to the point of making that kind of a run. Now, the game one was fascinating to watch. There was a really cool moment here where you can see that Skyz is looking for Geo's cruise missile and actually shoots it out of the sky pretty much before he can get anything off, which was, you know, a really crucial moment actually in the game. But there were still some signs that OpTic's, you know, cohesion in the respawn wasn't quite there. But what we did see, which I, you know, frankly expected to see, was a bit more energy and the team really looking like they were going for it, and actually great team play as well. The game one was a really impressive win because I think OpTic, you know, with Kenny, at least the way they played recently, and certainly OpTic online, are never winning this map, right? They went down pretty big. They had to bring a real nice comeback, hold the P2, get into the game 3. That's exactly what they did. And I mentioned it to you guys over the last couple of days. Pred is always going to be, you know, whatever his flaws and the concerns that people have had about him back on the roster and his actual, you know, decision making in his gameplay online, and all the questions that have gone around about Pred over the last couple of months, you can always rely on Pred in a LAN environment to not just bring the energy, but play his absolute best Call of Duty. And that's one of the key reasons why OpTic are world champions right now and collected their rings just yesterday. And it was another key reason why Pred was here today, delivering an absolute masterclass. And sure, was everything perfect? No, but Pred is the man for the job in these type of moments, right? And there's a reason why, if you can get him in this type of environment in front of a crowd, especially an OpTic home crowd, you are going to see the best version of OpTic in these types of situations, right? So they win the game one. Look, Pred deserves credit. I think it was cool to see him really bring the energy today, but Shotzzy was the star of the show. Dashy played really well game one as well, but Shotzzy was again the star of the show. This guy was on fire today, really didn't put a foot wrong at all. I mean, even in his 2 versus 2 here, gets one, gets the second as well, and there was kind of a no-brainer that he was going to end up winning this game, and that's exactly what he does on the final round 2, 1 versus 2, gets a couple of kills, trays them out, and opt to go up 2-0 with really no delay at all. I think for Skyz, although statistically, as you guys can tell, he was, what, 14 and 31 at this point. We'll see what he ends the game here in a second. He did, to be fair to him, pick up a fair bit of hill time. Yeah, he ended at 14 and 32, maybe right at the end there. Then they go to the control, and they slam them in the control as well. Shotzzy and Pred and whoever were just going rogue in their spawns. Rocker could put absolutely nothing together. And look, I think Rocker did not play good COD this series, so I think we'll have to reserve some judgment for OpTic, especially this new OpTic iteration, until they continue on their run. But Pred was talking an obscene amount of trash here on the main stage. It was brilliant to witness, to be honest, right? Like, you know, this is what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. And the Rocker guys, right? I mean, Paul X, he walked out with the headphones on, he did the Gerwin Price, that didn't really work. Nero, you know, he's just been getting tucked lately, to be perfectly honest. Geo's always been a bit inconsistent. Terrestrial was still fine, but frankly, not good enough. And this was Pred giving it large, let's just say, across the main stage of the Minnesota Rocker. This was another angle of that exact moment. So, I mean, look, this is a sign of things to come. I think that the cross-stage setup here is just absolute gold dust, and we need to see more of this from other teams, I think, that are running events in the future. I mean, there was even this one that you guys are feel free to lip read this, and, well, I think there might be the quotation maybe on the money. I mean, who knows? But Shotzzy was commenting on this. He said that it was a bit of a running joke from what's been going on in their scrims lately, and there's been a few kind of comments made back and forth. Shotzzy said that it was kind of related to that. Anyway, it's banter, it's early days in the tournament, but the Paul X headphone gimmick didn't really go to plan because he turned up and dropped an absolute stinker result. At least, I guess, in Minnesota, maybe it makes their decision-making in terms of roster changes after this tournament maybe somewhat more straightforward, but Dashy and the guys turned up and delivered in front of the green wall. I thought that they would. I mean, look, it's the OpTic home event. They're going to show out in front of the fans, but for Skyz's first series, everyone pretty much played well, and as Pred says, GG's, there's just nothing like LAN. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the weekends. There was some talk here from HyDra that was pretty funny that Dashy's, let's say his champ string maybe wasn't optimally sized, and he had a quick little trip to the ER, so thankfully that was all sorted out, and he actually played very well today. And Skyz, I thought it was a real cool moment for him, right, because you know, with that 12-year-old kid who put it as his YouTube bio that he wanted to play for OpTic one day, to get the moment in front of the OpTic home crowd in this type of environment, win the series, get up on the stage, the crowd's chanting your name and all this, and they were saying, take off the shirt, right? Like, that was pretty funny too. He actually said that he would do it if they win the tournament. So, you know, good guy, great energy, and like he's a world champion for a reason. Did he have a 0.7? Yeah, he did. But if you want to talk about enabling the team, and look, the game one, he didn't have good numbers, but he did have 2 minutes, 20 seconds in the hill, and that was certainly relevant. So, you know, Dashy with a 1.4, Shotzzy with a 1.6, the entire team played well, and, you know, Paulect with back-to-back 0.5, 0.6s, but Nero wasn't good either. It was a rough series for the Minnesota Rocker Boys. I expected a bit more, to be honest, but I still expected OpTic to win. They advanced to play Toronto in the next round, and that is certainly going to be more of a challenge. This series, though, we will keep brief. As Bant says, I'm sorry, but Lynz, it's time to go. He needs a new environment. This team does not work with him. And as Ronnie confirms after the series, Priestahh has not won a match on LAN since winning Modern Warfare 2 champs. Priestahh has been to about 6 tournaments since then and has placed, unfortunately, last every single time since then, and he didn't have a great series, a bit of a fight here. Look, this team is categorically broken, and they're not even close to solving all of their problems. You know, they have deep problems from the top to the bottom. You know, it's not just about some of the stuff in the game, it's also what's been going on out of the game as well, I imagine, anyway, given the fact that this team has been a bit of a shambles. Roster changes have gone down. Skyz is now gone from the team, even when he could have been an option maybe to come back in. And you see a team as shambolic as this and you think, you know what, maybe Skyz's run on the OpTic, you know, the OpTic team now, comparing his stats to what he was doing at the start of the season on Gentlemates, maybe it just doesn't count, doesn't really matter, right? Like, you know, maybe his numbers are irrelevant given the fact that that team is clearly in absolute dire straits. So the usual suspect ended up delivering on Toronto, and the final series of the day, this is when Thieves, look, for whatever reason, this matchup is just really good for Thieves, but they properly slammed them in this series, right? And this, I think, was potentially a pretty telling result for the rest of the tournament, because I was pretty convinced that even after the Boston loss yesterday, that Thieves would still make a run. And as it stands, they're still my favourites to make it through to the losers side of the grand finals and win the losers bracket entirely. Because when these guys are playing like this, the teamwork, the chemistry, the gun skill, everything is on point. They are almost impossible to stop. And, you know, it took him a bit of time to find that. But still, coming up against the Ravens, I thought it was going to be a good matchup for Thieves because their hardpoint had looked a bit shaky, but if there's any team you can be pretty confident you're going to win some hardpoints off, it's probably going to be the Ravens of the theoretical topper dogs in the league. And then the search for Ravens also wasn't very good this event either at all. And look, if their search isn't good, they are cooked beyond belief. So Thieves just ran them over in this series, to be honest. I mean, there was even a moment, I think, after the end of that map where, you know, Scrappy was like, look, you guys are absolutely god-awful. So, yeah, GG is to Thieves on map 1. Map 2 went a similar way as well. Here's HyDra. I mean, like, he's been cooking on this game lately. Sure, has he had his perfect moments? No, but it's certainly been better than nothing. When he wins this round here, shoots a couple of bodies as well. That was certainly a moment. Usually when the body shots come through, it goes the other way, but not the case this time. This is a really funny round as well. Nadeshot was on the comm saying, look, guys, it's not worth using the RC car. You should just, you know, stay alive and all this. Scrappy calls in the RC car, goes down. So literally the RC is the only thing left alive on the map at this point. And Scrappy, I mean, he plays it to perfection, to be fair. So the bomb gets picked up. The guys are fist bumping, thinking it's GG's. And then they realise that there's an RC car coming out of nowhere and he blows them up with 7.5 on the clock. And it means there was no time for the defusal. That was GG. And Ravens got absolutely battered out of the tournament. So Thieves continue in what could prove to be a very impressive losers bracket run. Ravens out top 8 and embarrassed, frankly, in the process again to the Thieves. Some serious things, I think, to think about on their side as to whether they are good enough right now to really get to where they want to be. But we're going to leave it there for the day. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.